It is good news for Cowboys fans today. Head coach Brian Schottenheimer revealing that Dak Prescott back at OTAs. Prescott only played in 8 games last season before having to undergo season-ending surgery on his hamstring. Cowboys finished just 7-10 on the season. Here's more from Coach on QB1.
He looks good. He's, again, you guys will see him out there today. He's doing his normal stuff. He's getting most of the work with the ones. We're rolling some guys through there, but you'll see him. He looks good, and I think he's progressing nicely.
Let's welcome in Garrett Podell. There he is. Garrett, you've been out there with the Cowboys, following them closely. What more can you tell us about Dak Prescott? I know it's a huge relief for fans to see him out there this early.
100%. Great to see you, Amanda. And I was able to watch the entire OTA practice, OTA number 2 here in Dallas. And to Shotty's word, as you just saw, Dak was out there taking the vast majority of the team reps as if it were any practice in the regular season. And he looked good. He rolled out, threw balls from both the left and right side of the field and looked pretty smooth. I was able to talk to him after practice today, and he told me, in terms of my limitations, the only thing I'm not cleared for is contact. But we're talking here at the end of May in OTAs, and so that's not really a problem. And even in training camp, if that's still the case, not a problem, because he's rocking that red jersey and no one is to hit him. So he's certainly on track to be ready for week 1, that Thursday night in Philadelphia against the Super Bowl champion Eagles. And he looked pretty smooth today, rolling out and doing everything that you would expect him to. And he's fired up to be out there. At the beginning of practice, when they were running into stretching and doing that, he was waving his arm to fire up and get his teammates to run as if he were a third base coach. So he's thrilled to be out there, and credited getting his offseason started early because of the injury happening in week 9 is the reason for why he's pretty much ready to roll in terms of throwing the football at this time in the offseason program.
We're going to start getting viral videos of that arm twist, just like his hip twist, I'm sure. Talk to us about, look, he has a new weapon on offense, and George Pickens making the trade for him. We know CeeDee Lamb has been very optimistic about him, saying we're both ones right now. There's not a 1 and a 2. Micah Parsons even joking around on social media that CeeDee Lamb has a new best friend, and he's been kicked to the curb. Schottenheimer, Shotty, as we do call him, seems to be optimistic as well. Why is he fitting in so well to this offense so far?
I think George Pickens is fitting in really well because he's just arms wide open and ready to learn. Shotty told us today in his press conference that what's impressed him the most about George Pickens is in the meeting room, his willingness to write copious amounts of notes and ask questions and just be a sponge. When talking to CeeDee Lamb today after practice, he kind of likened George Pickens' acclamation to the Cowboys like his own when he was a rookie, and now 5-time Pro Bowl wide receiver Amari Cooper was on the team and sort of the OG in the wide receiver room. Lamb acknowledged he's kind of that OG now himself in the receiver room, entering his 6th NFL season in 2025. And he said Pickens has asked a bunch of questions, and he's been happy to help him. I was able to talk to Pickens himself today as well, and he said one of the things he's already picked up from Lamb is just his footwork and technique, running intermediate routes over the middle of the field. I had a story on CBSSports.com that came out yesterday kind of about how their games complement each other, because the Steelers, they asked him to be this deep threat down the sidelines, and then Lamb's heat map, it's kind of in the middle of the field. And so stylistically, they can complement each other, and Pickens is already picking Lamb's brain in terms of how he can improve even in some of the finer route running points. And he did have his first catch, at least to media today, from Dak Prescott. He's wearing number 13. He caught a short little wide receiver screen to the left side of the field near the tail end of team drills. So catch number 1 for George Pickens in a Cowboys uniform is in the books. And Dak said to me also about getting both of them involved that, look, there might be some games where it's CDs, some games where it's Pickens, but he said both guys are happy with that because they know they want to win. And so Dak's really excited about kind of the winning that they can do as a trio, Pickens, Lamb, and himself.
You're there, you're talking to players. What do we need to know about the Micah Parsons situation when it comes to his contract? You've been following this so closely for so long now. Look, every analyst we talked to, we asked, what do the Cowboys need to do this season? They said, get Micah Parsons done. He wants to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. Is he showing up to OTAs? Are they any closer to getting that done maybe before the season starts?
Well, the answer to your question, Amanda, is he showing up to OTAs, is both yes and no. Because Schotty told us today that Micah was in the building yesterday for the first OTA practice, and the two of them, Schottenheimer and Parsons, did have lunch. But today, the second OTA practice and the first one that was open to media viewing, Parsons was not here. However, when I spoke to Micah just before the NFL draft at the end of April, he mentioned it was really big to him that Schottenheimer came to his bowling philanthropy charity event in the spring, and Schottenheimer's made a point to show up to a number of guys' foundation events to really build that family camaraderie off the field. And Parsons said, well, because Schotty did that for me, I'm going to do him a solid and show up to OTAs, even though it's voluntary, and even though in past off seasons that hadn't been Micah's MO. He'd typically just shown up for mandatory minicamp, but he did show up for practice one. Wasn't here today, but he should be here pretty regularly throughout the offseason. That was at least what Schottenheimer conveyed to us. And in terms of when his contract could get done, Micah has urgency on that. When I spoke to him at the end of April, he told me that he wants to get it done, and he thinks it's incredibly important to get done before training camp in July so that he doesn't have to resort to a holdout. Now, the Cowboys did go through with a CeeDee Lamb holdout this past offseason, and he missed the offseason program and training camp. And early on in the season, him and Dak weren't quite on the same page, and he pointed to training camp and missing that and the OTAs as a big factor in that. I asked CD today, how big is it for you to be here at the start of the offseason program now instead of last year when you missed? And he said it's night and day, and Dak echoed a similar sentiment. So I would say that Micah will be here intermittently, and that the countdown clock, because the Dallas really operates on deadlines when it comes to contracts, that training camp in July would be my educated prognostication about when we might see Micah Parsons extension news.
Waiting for contract, definitely Jerry Jones's MO. But I will tell you, as somebody who's from Dallas, the best thing he said is just that camaraderie. I don't think we've had that a lot with this Cowboys team for a hot minute, so that gives Cowboys fans a lot of hopes. Garrett, thank you so much. Taking a look at the Cowboys schedule, kicking things off against division rival the Eagles very early in the season, week 1 on Thursday Night Football. Division over the Cowboys. So yesterday, Brian McFadden put out his top 5 NFL players with the most improved. Coming in at number 5 was one of the newest members of the Cowboys, George Pickens. BMAC saying that Pickens needs to clean up some of the drama that followed him around Pittsburgh, show that he can be both quality on and off the field. Well, CeeDee Lamb says he's already impressed with Pickens, saying they're both ones. There's not a 1A, a 1B, and number 2. New head coach Brian Schottenheimer seems to agree.
I think we were all on board. I think we're always trying to find the right pieces and good pieces, and I think we're really excited about what he brings as a football player. But I see a guy that's maturing. I see a guy that we're excited to put out there and watch him grow and get better. And you guys will see him out there today. He obviously is a tremendous athlete, but I love watching him in meetings, because in meetings he's been so dialed in, taking great